Well, if you've come here to learn nodes, you've come to the right place. It's like board game night. You don't need to read the whole manual or all the instructions in order to be able to play. You just need a nerdy friend who has already read them and can tell you the rules so you can get started playing. I'm that nerdy friend, and today we're going to go over the select facing node. It's a great tool to have greater control over what you're affecting on your model when it comes to 3D modeling with nodes. So if you're interested in learning that, we're going to be going through all of that in depth so that you can create anything. And we're using a real world project with this countertop model here so that you can get in some practice. If you have any questions throughout this course, please feel welcome to leave them in the comments so that I can help. So this is our example of our finished model. And this is how far we've gotten so far in 3D modeling this ourselves in this class. I just want to show you a little bit of a sneak peek of what we're going to do with the select facing so that you can have this in your mind as we're going through the process. So we have this cube set up. And the reason why we want to select a face is in order to control the countertop part separately from the wooden part. So we want to select that, and the select facing is allowing us to do that so that we can then split these two parts. So if I drag the select facing up to here, this is where we are in our 3D modeling adventures. We have this cube. I'm going to choose quick shading for right now, or maybe quick shading with lines. This is where we are currently, and I'll even turn off the cloner so that it looks a little bit more like it. We'll talk about the cloner too in the future. And then we want to split it into two parts. So if I show what this part looks like by dragging this up to the geometry, you can see that that's what's selected. And then this is the remainder, so that we can have those both be separate parts to work on for our model and continue 3D modeling and adding additional modifiers and procedures to this to get our end result here. Let's break down how the select facing works. So I'll go back to where we left in our 3D modeling adventure here. You can find your select facing under Geo Selection. So if you don't already have your asset browser open, go under Geo Selection, your folder here, and you'll see select facing. There's all different kinds of selection tools. We're going to talk about this one here. And if we drag and drop this on top of this connection here, it'll automatically add it in between those two. There we go. And let's select this and see how this works. So under type, this might seem familiar because we also had this something similar here. We referenced for the geometry axis. Now we're selecting our type. We can select polygons, edges, or points as our type, and we can choose our selection string. So right now we're selecting all, and that's okay, but you can also select from a certain number of polygons as we mentioned. And you can view what the numbers are for those polygons in here, polygon indexes, and you'll see those are red, and you can see 0, 1, 4. So right now, using all is okay. And then you can choose a direction, X in the positive direction, X in the negative direction, Y in the positive direction, Y in the negative direction, and so on. So here we can adjust the select facing. We're going to go into greater depth of the split node in the future. But for right now, I'm just going to add it in here and type it in there so that we can show in greater depth how this is working. So I'm going to show what we have selected with the split node. So right now you can see that with this we have the geometry and then we have the remainder of what's selected. It's splitting what is selected. because it's going in that order. Selection split. So if we click on the select facing, you'll see X in the positive direction. So this is X in the positive direction, so it's only selecting that side. If we choose X in the negative, it'll select the negative direction of X, because you can see everything follows the work plane. X going in the positive or X going in the negative, the red arrow. We can also affect Y in the positive, Y in the negative, Z in the positive, Z in the negative. Or you can enter in something custom here and choose a custom angle by adjusting these values. Now in our case, we really just want to affect Y in the positive, and you can even adjust your tolerance. So if you have something spherical, for instance, you can adjust the tolerance for that, so you can actually grab more angles. I'll show an example of that with a sphere. So I'm going to add a sphere in here, and I'm going to put this in the select facing instead. Now you can see that this has a lot of points, but this isn't a perfectly flat sphere. So when we select the facing, we can adjust the tolerance, and as we adjust the tolerance, we're actually increasing how many polygons can be used facing in the Y. So now we have a 97-degree tolerance. So there's some margin of error where it will still select more polygons, even if they aren't perfectly facing in the positive Y direction. Now if we make this 0, something very small, you'll see that it's selecting far less. So this is 19 degrees. So that's your tolerance, and that's what that's controlling. If you choose and opposite, it'll basically flip this 180 to select the opposite. So I'll select that here. And we are selecting both the top and the bottom, because we're selecting our initial selection and the opposite of it. So top and bottom of this. And it would look pretty cool to animate this. So you can actually even keyframe your tolerance if you want to get real fancy. And you can store your selection as a name. So we can name this as top and bottom, for example. And if I click away, you'll see that we get this new selection tag named top and bottom. So that's how you set that up, basically. And that's what the select facing does. Now for our instance, we don't really need a sphere, so I'm going to remove that sphere, and I'm going to reconnect the geometry axis that we covered last to the select facing. Just like that. And we want the positive Y selected. We'll turn off the and opposite, because we only want the top selected, because this will be our countertop, separate from the wooden part. Now you excel at using the select facing node inside of Cinema 4D. If you would like to learn the split node and continue working on our countertop project, click this video up here, and I hope to see you there.